Hi, I'm Gillian. I'm an alcoholic. I have a live audience right now, and it's making me unbelievably uncomfortable. So I just want to get that out there because it's really razzling me, if you can see. Anyways, my sobriety date is December 28th, 2018. I have a sponsor, and he knows he's my sponsor, and I have a home group. So yeah, I guess I'll talk about what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. Yeah, I like to say that I really did just like come out of the womb like horrified of living. I would definitely say restless, irritable, and discontent now. Like having heard that definitely suits the way I was. Like as a kid, I was just so scared, and that manifested itself in a lot of different ways. Like sometimes it was like being such a perfectionist and like people pleasing to the max, and sometimes it was I used to cause like so many like friendship triangles, just like always causing drama, or like shoplifting. Like it was really anything, any comfort seeking behavior I can find I will cling to until I can't anymore because it's destroying my life. Yeah, and I have a host of outside mental health issues too, that I'm sure contribute to that quite a bit. My mom got sober as a teenager in DC actually, and she told me a lot as a kid, like, hey, our family has a lot of alcoholism, so like please be careful. And I just like didn't really care ever. Like it scared me a tiny bit, but I was like, whatever, that's not me. Who cares? Yeah. And drinking started looking really fucking cool to me at some point, like in my tweens. Like I thought anyone that drank was so cool. Like I would watch adults drink and like see how like how they would all just kind of like loosen up, and like people would be laughing harder and like the vibes were just like right. And I was like, I want that, because I never like felt okay. I always had great people, I always had friends, but no matter what, I felt completely alone and completely terrified. And I understand that now to be the spiritual malady, which I guess I'll probably talk about more later. But yeah, anyways, I started drinking when I was like 14, but I never really got drunk or high. And then I had a traumatic experience when I was 15. And then pretty much directly after that, I got like really fucked up for the first time. And it was just like so good. Like I loved it so much. Yeah, I stole alcohol from my parents, and I met up with a few other girls, and I stood over the sink, and I had a dish soap bottle that I had rinsed out and filled with just like every hard liquor I could find. And I stood over the sink and I chugged like I think almost the entire thing while like gagging, right? And like that's not, I drink for the effect produced by alcohol and nothing else. Like I don't like the way that tastes. That was not fun. Like I was literally gagging over a sink. Like that's not like a great experience. But I knew what I wanted. I was like, I want to feel good. So that's what I did. And I just remember like feeling like it was like, I would definitely describe it as a spiritual experience. Like feeling so connected to the girls that I was with, not feeling like the entire weight of the world was on my shoulders for like the first time ever, probably. I just remember rolling around on my friend's rug in her living room for just like an hour, just like literally rolling around on this rug and being like, oh my God, yes. Like I just had this moment where it was like I had always been like, how am I gonna live? Like I don't know how I'm gonna live my life like if I feel like this. Like how is everybody else just like living? Like I don't understand. And when I had that first drunken high, I was like, okay, I get it now. Like I have found something that works. And I'm going to be able to live and things are going to be okay. And then I threw up all over that rug and I cleaned it up with my winter coat, which I didn't wash after. So that was really gross. And after that, like that did not deter me at all. I was like, okay, like looks like that's the side effect. Who cares? This looks like this is what we're doing now. And I fell really fast. Like I did not waste time. Like I did exactly what I wanted to do, which was like do that as often as possible. That car's playing music anyways. I started buying drugs from people pretty instantly. And it was after that, it was like I would go off and get high every single day after school. And I would always go alone, and like I like people would have come with me, you know what I mean? But like I wanted to be alone with like my thing. Like that's all I wanted. Like that was my vibe. And I would just get high after school every single day, and then I would walk around Capitol Hill for like 2 hours, and then go home. And it was like the best time ever. Like I felt so good. Yeah, I instantly like kind of dropped my friends who didn't want to be doing that, and started hanging out with people who did want to drink how I drank. Yeah, and it just escalated really quick. I started stealing a medication that my brother was prescribed, and then I started stealing a medication that my grandmother was prescribed. And I just had like no hesitation around trying drugs at all. Like I had no fear. That's all I wanted. Yeah, about 6 months after that, on my 16th birthday, I went to a drug-induced psychosis. I was like in the woods, and I thought that the the shadow people were chasing me. And it was like really scary, obviously, but at the same time, I didn't care. I was like, this is a side effect of what I want to do, and that's not going to stop me. And I also remember being like, okay, like I guess I'll take a break for like a week, right, to like a tolerance break. I think I lasted like maybe a few days before I was right back to doing the same exact thing. And I did not recognize that at the time, but that's definitely being powerless over alcohol and also having an unmanageable life. Yeah, and it just, escalated from there. And then I broke my foot jumping a fence, and I had to get a few surgeries, and I was introduced to painkillers. And the first time I tried painkillers was like another first drink for me, where it was like, this is all I want. Like I could be in my bed with my broken foot, and if I could take these pills for the rest of my life, I would be okay, and I would be okay with this, and this would be a good life. And that whole time, I did not feel like any guilt for what I was doing. Like I was routinely robbing my parents. I was lying to everybody in my life. Like nobody knew the full story. I would tell little bits of the story to like different friends. And I didn't feel anything for that. And then it felt like I just woke up one day and that guilt like hit me like a fucking bus. Like I could not look at myself in the mirror. I hated myself so much, and I did not understand at the time, like it's like I'm doing all of these bad things and I'm also addicted to Percocet, but like those things were not correlated in my head at all. And I didn't think that made sense, but yeah, it just got worse. And then after that, I tried to just smoke weed. Couldn't do it. I remember like getting on the train to go to school every day. And by the time I got off the train, it was like a 45-minute train ride. I would be almost in tears just because the mental obsession was like torturing me. Yeah, after that, I was 12-stepped. I opened up to a friend, and he 12-stepped me, and introduced me to the program, but I wasn't ready. But that's when I learned about the 3 features of alcoholism, which I already kind of talked about, but I always think it's important to say just because it helped me so much hearing about that and relating when I was new. But yeah, so I already talked about the spiritual malady a little bit. And my understanding of that is that I can't form a genuine connection with another person. And that doesn't mean that I didn't have friends, which I used to be like, I don't have the spiritual malady, like I have friends. That's not what it means. For me, it meant that I couldn't form that connection, and I did not feel connected to anybody. Like I was not able to bond with other people, and that I was scared all the time, and I was restless, irritable, and discontent all the time. So, if that's true, drinking is a pretty good solution to that. Like we don't have a drinking problem, we have a living problem, what Kate's sponsor loves to say. Yeah, and then I talked a little bit just now about the mental obsession, which is when I am removed from drugs. I cannot stop thinking about them. It feels like torture. in my head all the time. Like I can spend entire days just scheming in my head about like when I'm gonna get this drug and when I'm gonna be able to drink and like what I have to steal. And like I can spend like literally like 12-hour periods doing that. And it doesn't stop. And then the physical allergy, which I feel like I should have started with, but it's too late now. The phenomenon of craving when I start drinking or doing a drug, I cannot tell you when I will stop. And that's another thing I related out with a lot when I was new. Like I thought I did not black out every time I drank. And I didn't, like bad shit didn't happen every time I drank, but that's annoying. But what's important is that I cannot honestly tell you what's going to happen when I start drinking. Like I cannot tell you and be sure that I'm only going to have one drink if I want to do that. And that's what's important, because that's normal people can do that. Yeah, so when I start drinking, like I can, like when I talk about it, I can like feel the feeling in my chest of like just needing more. And like I was recently talking to a friend I drank with about a time that we were doing pills, and I really wanted to save a few of my pills for a trip I was going on because I was running out. And I remember doing the first line or whatever, and then instantly being like, oh, never mind, we need to get those right now, because the craving kicked in. So with all of those together, when I stop, I can't stay stopped, and when I start, I can't tell you when I'm going to stop. And when you remove alcohol from me, things don't get better. They get worse until I have a solution. So yeah, I went to this meeting. I hated it. I was like, fuck these people. And I remember telling the guy who health sent me, I was like, I know I'm not an alcoholic because like I have these pills at home and I don't want to do them. Like I really don't. I really don't want to do them. And that means I'm not an alcoholic. And he was like, yeah, okay. So I went to this meeting and I went home. And what did I do? I did a bunch of those pills. And that was like the incomprehensible demoralization. Those are big words. And then the rest of the week, it was like that again and again and again. That week too, I told my mom that I was trying to get sober. And she was like, okay, I'm going to throw out these pills. So she threw them out. And then 2 hours later, I had the peculiar mental twist. And I had the thought that I'm not an alcoholic. I just had to tell my mom. And, you know, like that doesn't even almost make sense saying that now, just not even a little bit. But at the time I was like, yeah, that definitely sounds right. So I dug those pills out of the trash can and I did them. And that was like the shittiest feeling in the world. You know, I was like, I'm a horrible person. What's wrong with me? I'm never doing that again. And then I woke up, and before school the next morning, I dug around in the dumpster for those pills for about an hour and I couldn't find them. And that was the first time I really tried to stop everything and I couldn't. And that was really, really scary. And I continued that process for like a while. I ended up getting a month sober and then relapsing. Yeah, so eventually I was willing because I had that moment of clarity where it was like, if I keep living like this, I'm going to die. And also like, you know, like I always think that I can manipulate something in my life and then things will be okay. And that was definitely true in my drinking. And it was like, I cannot manipulate my way out of this. Like it's not going to get better no matter what I do. And that's so painful for us, you know, like if we can't bond with other people and we bond with alcohol and drugs, like that thought that those don't work for you anymore, like that's really, really scary and really, really awful. So I had the gift of desperation and I asked Kate to sponsor me. And like looking back at that time in early sobriety, I was so unbelievably miserable. I think I cried every single day for my first 6 months. And the mental obsession was torture for the first 6 months. But looking back at that time, like it really did feel like something was like physically carrying me and pushing me to do the right thing. Like it literally felt like something had me and like was helping me because I didn't want to do any of it. I was so painfully shy. Kate still makes fun of me because like I would literally go to fellowship and like stare at a wall for 2 hours and not say a single fucking word. And I was just so scared of people. Yeah, so I started the steps. I had a major problem with the God thing because I had been such an atheist my whole life, and I really did think I was smarter than everybody. And I thought that you guys had all been fooled, and I was like, that's so sad, like these poor people. Yeah, so I had a big problem with that. But what's great is that we don't have to find our own higher power, or like that's not true. That's not what I meant to say. What I did mean to say was that we don't have to figure out how to find our own higher power. Like the steps are literally designed to connect us to a higher power. So like I don't have to sit down and try to figure out how to find one, because if I work the steps, I will find one. So it was AA for a while. And I was just so desperate that I was willing to like deal with the God thing. And through working the steps, things really did just start to get better. Like after doing a 5th step, admitting so many things that I thought I would go to my grave with was so powerful. And like, I didn't have like a God moment, but like I felt connected to my sponsor, and I felt like she knew me. And that was really, I mean, I could consider that a God moment. Yeah, and I kept working the steps. I got the opportunity to 12-step someone when I had like 2 months, and that was the most powerful experience of my sobriety. Just like having all of the shit that I had done and like hating myself so much and being so miserable. Like I was so suicidal all throughout early sobriety. And then having someone come to me needing help, and like me just telling them my story, and then them being able to get sober and like relate to me. Like it felt for the first time, like I wouldn't say that I felt at the time like it was worth it, but like I felt like I was going to be okay, and that maybe everything wasn't awful. And I did feel like a really strong connection to a higher power in those moments. And I think if I hadn't have had that experience, I wouldn't still be sober. Yeah, so I kept going through the steps, and things really did start to get better. Like the mental obsession was awful for my first 6 months, which I already said, and I was so shy and I wouldn't talk to anybody. And around that 6-month mark, I don't know what happened. I mean, working the steps obviously, but I started to feel better. I started to be able to make friends. I wasn't in so much self-centered fear all of the time. Yeah, and I felt like I could breathe again. And that was really amazing, because I really did, like I used to call Kate all the time and be like, things just aren't going to get better for me. Like I know it happened for you guys, but like clearly it's not going to happen for me. And it did. Yeah, I've only made 2 of my direct amends, but those were also really powerful experiences. Being able to sit in front of people with that humility, which I don't often have a lot of, and like clear up the wreckage of the past is so beautiful. So yeah, I've been through the full steps one time, and I recently got a new sponsor, so I'll probably start them again soon. Yeah, I would definitely say service is the most important part of my sobriety, and I feel a little bit like an asshole saying that, because I'm really like not on my service game recently at all. But the only time I feel happy, or I don't think happy is the right word, the only time I feel content in sobriety is when I am being of service to other people. Like it really, I don't know what it is about it, but they're right about it. It really does make me feel better, and it makes me feel useful, and like my life is worthwhile. And it's just so important, even though I'm not doing it at all. So I guess we'll talk about how things are now. Yeah, things are so much better, and it's so hard to remember that. Like I can't even compare my life, December 2018 to now, and like the way I feel, like that, like desperation and just like hopelessness is not a feeling I ever feel. And like I said, I have a lot of outside issues, and like my sobriety hasn't been easy. So the fact that I haven't felt those emotions, like even though I felt horrible in sobriety, is something that's really beautiful to me. And yeah, obviously COVID has been really hard. Like this is a disease of isolation, which is something Kate told me. So being isolated is obviously really miserable, I'm sure, for all of us. And for me, one of my biggest, like obviously kind of all of our biggest things is self-centered fear, but for me, my self-centered fear so often surrounds the world and like the political climate. Like I'm like a big like doomsday prepper. Like this shit really gets in my head. Like it's always a catastrophe for me. So obviously it's been hard, but like I guess, I don't know, I'd call it like building faith, maybe, like having things that I'm so scared of happening and surviving them, really makes me feel like I can live a life. I was in, me and my me and my boyfriend of 2 years broke up a few months ago, and that was another thing that I was so scared of, like, losing him. I was like, I don't know what to tell you, like, I really think I might just die. Like, if we break up, I might just drop dead. And we broke up, and like, it's awful, and I'm okay, and I'm sober, and I'm alive, and I have friends, and like, I'm really okay. So like, experiences like that, like, of being so scared of something and then it happening and then I'm okay, it just like really shows me that I can live through anything and I can stay sober through anything. If I'm working a program. And two, like, I felt super disconnected from God just because I'm so mad at the world. And I'm so mad that all of this is happening and the way things are being handled. Like, I'm so angry about it that I'm like, how could a God let this happen? So me and my higher power of my first like year are not really together anymore. And I've definitely been using AA is my higher power, and when I get mad at AA, which also happens a lot, my higher power has been nature, which like really sounds like some hippie shit sometimes, but it really does work for me. Just like getting outside makes me feel so much better. Yeah, so like I feel really disconnected from AA, I feel really disconnected from God. But I've been so like rigorously honest with my sponsor about it in a way that I don't feel like I've ever really been honest. And I feel like that's definitely is what's keeping me sober and keeping me in contact with some kind of higher power, is that honesty. And like having the willingness to be that honest is so cool because I really haven't had it before to be as honest as I'm being right now. And it's just really beautiful to like share your life with someone like that. And I feel like I'm rambling now, so I think that I'm gonna wrap up. But thanks for asking me, Kate, and thanks for letting me share.
Thanks, Gillian.